you kind of already have a bit of a persona online from all the YouTube streams. So
I Yeah, I recently became aware of that actually. I never really thought about it
yeah.
until I started like joining different Discords. I discovered Discord yet last year.
Oh wow. Yeah, it's funny.
Yeah,
I
I
was I
know.
was like just doing some research online, like looking up some of your work and whatever. And I think it was on ArtStation when I put your name in. Um, one of the first things that popped up was somebody had did a fan art of you. They're
Oh
like,
yeah,
like I love to watch on ZBrush, and the live stream service is very it was very funny. So I was like, I
yeah.
guess you got a
That,
following.
yeah, it's one of the guys who I hang out with in my
Oh, cool.
now new Discord server.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I had to learn it. I was scared of Discord for a while, but then yeah, just realize how great of a tool it is to
Yeah.
just connect.
Yeah, no, it's
Yeah.
great. I mean, yeah, also I really avoided Discord for a long time until the first time I used Discord, I think, was Paul Gabry from Maxon. He did a 3D modeling course. It's like specifically focused on 3D printing, and
Hmm.
um, and so they had a Discord channel for all the for the class, and they put the recordings and just kind of like that as like a community. And that was like my first time like really using Discord, and I was really impressed with like the interface because I find it's similar in a lot of ways to like Slack, you know.
Hmm.
Um, and it's
I
interesting
prefer Discord
because
though.
what?
Prefer Discord though.
Yeah, for sure.
Hmm.
Um, but it's interesting because like it's it kind of has like the benefits of like let's say like WhatsApp or like a texting app, but also there's like the organization aspect to it. It's really great. Like I wish I got onto it sooner. Like 'cause I always thought of Discord as
Yeah.
like it's like people like go to like for gaming and like streaming and whatever. And so I was like okay whatever. But once I started using it, I was like oh wow this is actually really really helpful and really useful. So
Yeah. I
it's fun. You get to meet cool
Did you
people.
not get confused with like the whole UI thing? Because my first month of Discord, I just kept on like joining audio like calls with everyone. I was just jumping on random servers. They're like, "Oh, who's that?" And I'm like, "Oh, how do I get out of here?"
Yeah, no,
Hi.
it definitely was like a learning curve. I found it the interface was definitely different than like what I was used to from like I said like texting apps. But once I kind of got the hang of it, I was like, okay, like this, but yeah, for sure, there's definitely a learning curve. It definitely is. It works very differently than what I was used to before. But I mean, it's great. I mean, it's great for like the space we're in. Like to really like meet people, build communities, and then it's nice that you could have like within a server, you could have like the different sort of like I don't know what they call it, but like the subsections within a
Mhm.
server. You can like really organize really nicely. It's great. I mean, I'm a big fan of it, and I don't even use it that much honestly, and I definitely could be using it more. Um, I plan to like eventually once this like podcast is up and running and really kind of get some momentum. I really want to start like a Discord channel and kind of start to bring people in and really build a community around it because it's so useful and so powerful and and then also
That's
it's great
great.
to interact with the people who enjoy it. So
There's
yeah, it's a
also
lot of
like a
fun.
different kind of connection because you get to hear people's voices
Yeah,
compared to like live streams on YouTube or Twitch,
right,
where you just see messages. You don't really like associate any voice
right.
with the nickname. But on Discord, it's like more casual, and people who aren't really shy will join in like voice channels, and
Yeah,
it's just so funny. Well, to
yeah,
me at least, because I live on this island in the middle of the ocean at the bottom of the world, and then I get connected with people from like states and all across Europe, Asia, and
yeah,
we have like sometimes 19-hour differences,
yeah.
but we have
People
art
are
that
always
connects us,
online.
and it's really cool. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
somehow.
right. People just don't sleep. That's what it is.
Yeah, must do.
Um, yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. What was I gonna say about that with the Discord? I want to say something specific. I'm totally drawing a blank now. Whatever. It's fine. It wasn't important. um, so let's kind of jump into your story, your background. First of all, how long have you been doing 3D modeling and art in general? Let's just say more broad. Like, how long have you been doing art? Is it kind of a lifelong, always been drawing, always been sketching?
Yeah, the artsy kid.
Yeah.
Never was really into sports, although my parents did send me to like do tennis, but artsy kids from the get-go. Yeah, started drawing as soon as I could hold a pen, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
you started off like in sketching, drawing. That was kind of your go-to. And then when did you
Yeah.
move to 3D?
So I think discovered 3D when I was in 8th grade or 9th
Mm-hmm.
grade in school.
Mm-hmm.
And it was Blender at the time, before Blender
Sure.
was a thing. It wasn't a big thing in 2015. There was no, it was a pre-donut era,
Mm-hmm.
pre-donut tutorial era. And I was just modeling cups and teddy bears and any
And the
like odd
donut.
object that no donuts.
Oh, there's no
Like it
donut
was
yet. This is
not yet.
pre-donut.
Pre-donut. PD, you know.
That's right.
Yeah, so I was modeling all of those things and like compiling into like a folder and showing it to my parents, and my friends are like, look what I made. They're like, oh, cool, cool. And then I got into it like so much that I was like, hey, maybe I can make a career out of it. And about the same time, my sister and my brother-in-law moved to New Zealand, and I started looking into like paths that I could take with it. And I found this company in Moldova that was doing short form animation cartoons and like TV advertising, like just anything like animation related. And it
Yeah.
was like a rare thing in Moldova as well. So one thing led to another, and I think I got connected with like a studio director. Showed him my very amateur portfolio that consisted out of like 4 pieces of art, like just odd pieces of furniture and props. And I asked my parents if we could like ask them for like a private tutorship, mentorship,
Yeah.
like yeah, just tutoring after school. And I did that for 3 months there. After school, I would come there for like 2-3 hours, sit with the team, and like one of the team members would show me how to use Maya. And back then, I didn't know what pixels were. They were trying to explain this new concept to me because I made a texture for a prop. And they were like, okay, it's good, but it's really, really low res. I made it like 500 pixels wide or something.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, just make it up-res it. And I'm like, what do you mean?
Yeah.
What are pixels? Just like completely nothing there
Wow.
yet. Yeah, and then after 3 months, I kind of got this internship there,
Mm-hmm.
which was more like working there full time during summer break, which I did. And by the end of the summer break, I told my parents that I don't want to come back to school.
So this is in high school
And
that you're doing this.
yeah,
Wow.
and my mom really supported me, and then my dad supported me too. We kind of discussed the plan, and I decided that maybe I could work there, build up a portfolio, and then apply for a university in New Zealand to get like a diploma. Because in my head, it made sense at the time.
Right.
Now looking back, diplomas maybe not necessary
Yeah.
for everyone. Like
Right.
it's not mandatory to have a degree to get a job. I don't believe so anymore, but back then that was the plan, and yeah, left school.
Wow. So what like grade were you in that you left?
I finished 9 years of school,
Mm-hmm.
and
Wow.
then I
And so
think I
after that you're
started
like,
like
that's
first month
enough.
of 10th, and then I was like, nah,
Wow. That's awesome that your parents were so supportive that they let you just kind of drop it and
it
pursue
is.
what you really enjoyed.
Mhm.
That's really
Yeah,
special. You know, like not every parent is as supportive. You know, so
no,
it's, when you have
I,
somebody, when you have
mhm.
parents who really, facilitate and allow you to pursue what you're interested in and good at, like that makes all the difference for sure.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I
So
think
so how long
for
have you been
them it
doing it
was
for?
mm, so 2015-ish to
Hmm.
now, so 10 years, I think.
Wow.
Yeah, so just doing 3D, but professionally it's a bit less than that.
Hmm.
So I don't know, count that year and a half of internshiping there, being an intern,
Yeah.
or not. I would count it because I was still like working on projects and being part of the team, 9 to 5.
Yeah.
As a 16-year-old, it was weird, definitely. But the team really like took me in under their wing, and it was just one of my like best memories still
Wow.
from Simples.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So was that like 2D animation or was it 3D animation?
it was pretty. It was pretty.
Oh, cool. So what kind of tools were they using? Were they using, you said like Maya and Blender and
Maya, not so much Blender. It
Mhm.
wasn't still a big thing at the time. I think Blender really took off a few years later. So it was Maya, um, Houdini. Weirdly,
Mm.
it was the main tool that I used there because my supervisor, Gena, he was a visual effects artist, so he taught
Mhm.
me everything he knew.
Wow.
And yeah, so Houdini, Maya, Photoshop. What else did I use? Like probably Substance.
So you learned
Not
most of
much
what you know,
else.
you kind of learned on the job.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
I think Mudbox as well. It's pretty much dead now, right?
Yeah, I was gonna say, I
Nobody's
think that's
using
kind
it.
of a thing of the past at this point.
Yeah.
Wow. Oh, very cool. So which school did you go to in New Zealand?
And in New Zealand, I applied to it was called UB College of Arts or something like that.
Hmm.
I'll send you the link. They rebranded a couple years back. Uh, to be honest, I found the cheapest school I could find for my
Uh-huh.
parents, and that's what I went with. There were free options, I believe, and they were all kind of like in the same level of
Hmm.
tuition. I just chose a slightly cheaper one, and I actually managed to only go there for 1 year on the level 7, which it's like in levels in New Zealand, so it's a diploma level.
Okay.
So instead of starting from the ground zero, because I had some background and I had portfolio from working at Simples, I was able to get straight on the level 7 and finished it in a year, and then got hired straight after that.
Well, that's great. So how long have you been working? Like when did you finish school and then when did you start working professionally?
To finish school, or like college, in 2000. Oh, hold up, 18, end of 2018,
Hmm.
and then I got a job at like January 2019, and
Oh,
I've
wow.
been at the same place ever since. So 6 years.
Wow. So what are you doing now? What's your current job?
So I'm a 3D character artist for animation,
Nice.
not so much for games, but I am thinking of like tipping my toes into it,
Hmm.
transitioning. So my last couple of works have been showing me using Unreal and Marmoset and learning game dev pipeline of like
Yeah.
optimization of meshes and baking and yada yada yada.
Yeah. All the fun stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is fun.
Yeah. The game industry, I don't know. I've heard a lot of people who are very like I guess jaded by the game industry currently. Like a lot of people are like, I don't know. Like I personally, I I personally am not as interested in the game industry, so I've never like really invested my time and effort into like really, delving into all the nitty gritty. But from what I hear, just kind of peripherally, a lot of people seem to be saying that it's just, I think it's kind of a very transitional period right now, and there seems to be a lot of hard feelings, I guess you could say, in the game industry. Um, but yeah, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see kind of how things develop over the next few years in the game industry. Um, I think games are the most popular now they've ever been. First of all, um, but I think also at the same time, like companies want to maximize profits, and so like it's kind of, I think there's a lot of moving parts at the same time, and so it's interesting to hear from people in the game industry, kind of, how things are playing out. Have you gotten any experience like in the game industry yet? Or it's kind of at this point you're still just thinking about it.
Um, no, I have had some experience at work. We've been getting some VR, AR, like
Cool.
augmented reality jobs that require like knowledge of Unity and Unreal. So I have some experience. I wouldn't call it like an actual game pipeline because
Yeah.
it's not. It's just an experience within the game engine.
Yeah.
But yeah, um, still applies. I think I can translate some of the knowledge from that I got on those jobs to like any other potential game related job.
Right. So you said you do 3D character art.
Mhm.
So what are you doing it for? Are you doing it for animation, for or what
Yeah,
kind of
so well, our work does like mostly short form animation, and my company has established like a good rapport with Disney over the
nice.
years. So I think we've been around for like over 25 years. And back in the day, Flux used to help out on like traditional 2D Disney projects. And that what kind of established the good relationship that we have. And now we get jobs from them. A few years back, we made an really cute Make a Wish ad collaboration with Disney, like a 3-minute short revolving around Christmas and family and what it means to like different cultures.
Hmm.
Um, and that one was particularly what it meant to like Filipino people, and it was really like touching, and it was received very well. And it's like a full-on Disney slash Pixar style, I guess.
Very nice. Very cool. So you're
Mm.
doing some of the characters for that project.
Not at the time. At the time, I wasn't even a character artist. I
Uh-huh.
started out as a visual effects artist,
Oh
and
wow.
then yeah, I realized I didn't want to do it after like a year,
Yeah.
and I
What
was
is it
like,
about visual effects that didn't do it for you?
I, I was still like very green and fresh out of uni, and I was like, a job, yes, I'll do it,
Mm.
you know. And
Yeah.
my reel did have a lot of like visual effects stuff from singles, and like just it was fun. I really like Houdini still to this day, even though it's like one of the most complex software out there um, that I ever had to learn. But yeah, I really enjoyed the challenge. But then I discovered character art, and haven't looked back. I just
Yeah.
I'm drawn to it.
Yeah.
That's everything I save on ArtStation. That's what I breathe. That's what I see every day.
Yeah. So
Makes
I'm curious
sense.
to ask you because I know your ZBrush streams tend to be. I know you always title it character appeal. That's like your big thing. So what makes an appealing character?
That's a great question. It would depend on your story that you come to me with. What is the character for? Is he like a protagonist? Is he meant to be likable? Is he an antagonist? Because, like, appeal does not mean he has to be good. It means the character has to be appealing to the audience. So he can, or they can be a villain. They can be like an underdog. I don't know, any sort of background,
Hmm.
or motivation. But like certain shapes, like we used to, how should I put it? We emphasize with like rounded and soft characters a lot more because we find them more appealing, and usually any protagonists will have those features. Um, or sometimes round shapes will like tell you something about the character, that they might be naive and like young and inexperienced, and then squared off characters will be more like strong and dependable and sometimes stubborn,
Hmm.
you cannot change who they are. And then triangular characters could be like villains and schemy and slimy, I don't know, stuff like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
So
With the hard
that's
edges
what
and
I
stuff like
mean.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I mean by appeal.
Yeah.
So
So
like
it kind of
discovering,
boils down to shape language essentially. It's
yeah,
really kind of what
yeah.
really drives a character. Yeah. So what are some of your like go-to methods? I know like different character artists have different approaches. Like for example, like I know Steven Silver, he's very into the what he calls the S's and C's, right? Everything kind of breaks
Mhm.
down to S's and C's. Do you have any sort of I guess techniques that you apply to your characters, or besides what you talk about the shapes? So you got the rounds and the squares and the triangles. Do you have any sort of specific techniques that you try to apply to all your characters, or each one you really approached very differently?
Well, I just copy those guys. I mean, like all the art is derivative, I can't
Right.
bring anything new to the table. everything that is out there has already been done, and everything I'll come up with has already been done in some way, shape, or form. You
Right.
know, so yeah, for sure, I have some things that I have figured out for myself over the years of making different characters, and one of them is shape language, S curves, C curves. All of that is great as well. I like to block out my characters with like primitives. So any live stream you go to, my live stream, you'll see that I start from like spheres and cubes and cylinders,
Yeah.
just because my brain likes to break it down that way. It's
Yeah.
easier for me to understand.
Yeah. The Shane Olson method.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. That's really,
and
one of like the um most important things, I guess, that I've learned and I was taught, and it really is true. If you're not an artist, right, or a designer, and you look at things, whatever, any piece of work, you think like it's so complex and so complicated, but really every single thing out there does break down into shapes. And
yeah, for
once
sure.
you recognize that and you start to understand how to find those shapes and how to translate those shapes into whatever it is you're trying to make, it all just kind of clicks and makes sense. Oh, yeah, it's for me. Like maybe it's how your brain
Mhm.
works, but for sure, like it really is that simple. Everything really does break down into shapes. Like there's
Mhm.
kind of a limited amount of shapes out there, and so everything fits into one of the few shapes that exist.
Yeah, that's
So
true.
so I'm curious, how did your style like change over the years?
Yeah, I'll be able to send you some photos if you want. Some images of my like very early sculpts and what I was doing. I'd say I was always drawn to stylized art, and you can see it in my portfolio even from like 5, 6, 7 years back. Um, there was still level of stylization. I was never really into realism, although now I'm starting to like experiment with maybe like semi-realistic characters, perhaps with like very realistic textures but
Mm,
simplified shapes. That's kind of something for the future.
yeah,
The next project I'm gonna release, it's gonna be about that. Um, yeah, evolve. I don't think I've been around for long for my style to evolve. So
hmm You're
I'll
still you're
talk to
still
you
figuring it
on
out.
the podcast in 10 years, and you
Yeah,
can ask me that, and we'll
yeah,
see. But yeah, still experimenting a lot. I
yeah.
like a really wide variety of styles.
Yeah, I see it in your work. I mean, there's definitely is you see a lot of the stylized stuff across your work, but even within the stylized work that you have, I've noticed very different types of stylization. Like
Mm,
your more recent stuff, like two of my favorite pieces of yours. The I forget the names. I apologize. But there's the
it's
one.
okay.
It's the puppet. He has the little
Yeah, the
soldier.
craftsman.
Yeah, the Craftsman. It's really cool. It looks really great, and it's not super stylized in a sort of like Pixar way, right? But it's obviously not ultra realistic either. They kind of exist in this sort of in between. It's
Yeah,
excellent, I
that's
have
what
to
I
say.
meant. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. And then also
That's
the one that I really like. I personally also I really gravitate towards stylized characters. I love like the Shane Olsen style, like kind of that Disney Infinity, really kind of
yeah.
exaggerated proportions. Um, and I really liked your piece. The again, I apologize, I don't remember the name, but the
It's
soldier,
okay.
the
General Rowan.
yeah, I
Yeah.
really, first of all, it's a beautiful piece, and I really
Thank you.
like the contrast that you have with kind of the organic shapes of the character with the cloth, and then you have that kind of hard surface thing on the arm. It's a really nice um, contrasting feature that really I think like tells the story and like really sells it really nicely. So it's
Thank you.
very, I mean, very, all your
I
stuff is
can't
great, but
take full credit for that because concept is done by Hunter Gage, and he is just an amazing artist that used to work for, I believe, Blizzard and Riot, and you can
oh,
kind of
cool,
see it in his works. And I reached out to him and was like, "Can I make it?" And he was like, "Yeah, totally." And I
nice,
even asked him for a name because it didn't have a name, and he just trusted me with it. And
that's
she had
awesome.
red eyes and like such like fierce feeling about her that I
Yeah,
started googling like female names that are associated with red, and then one of them was like scarlet, and I was like, that's cool. But then I saw a rowan, and I was like, oh yeah, that's it.
No, it's a great piece of work. It's right. It's really just excellent. I to just diverge for 1 second here. Um, how do you kind of strike the balance between like commercial work and like personal projects and kind of doing things to make money and and to get jobs, but also doing things that you love and not kind of losing the love for the craft.
Um, I've never lost love for the craft. No matter how um monotonous day to day, like 9 to 5 job can be. Sometimes it's not like I get to work every day and I get to work on the most amazing character ever. It's just not
Right.
the reality. Some people might think that, and some people might even have that kind of job, but I'm pretty sure it's rare. So I always have this motivation to come back home and do something for myself, because not I don't always get to do exactly what I want to do, which is normal.
Yeah.
If you are hired as a character artist or prop artist, anything for a studio, you'll be fulfilling somebody else's vision, and that's okay.
Right.
So I had setbacks even like 4 years ago when I was like getting really, really attached to every single piece of work that I was creating for a studio. And when it would get cut or completely changed, like I'm almost done with the asset and they're like, nope, scrap it, we're starting over. I would get just mentally destroyed inside.
Yeah.
So that was like a big one for me to overcome, to like just not get attached. I still do sometimes. I mean,
Yeah. No, for sure. I mean, it's hard to not get attached to your projects, and like first of all, there's just the time and effort aspect of it, and there's also like I find especially with characters, um, that you do kind of almost like create like a personality for them. Like they kind of like they occupy space in your head. Like this is a character, and you really kind of have a story for them, and you almost it sounds funny, but you almost develop a relationship with these characters you're creating. And so
yeah,
when
you
someone
do.
says like, hey, you know what, forget it, we're gonna just start from scratch. You're like, wait a minute, what do you mean? Like, I've been working on this for the
Hmm.
last whatever 3 weeks, 5 weeks, whatever it is, and to kind of just throw it away is devastating.
Yeah, it can be. And the reality of our industry is that lots of times, because of some like legal reason, a project will just never get released, and it
Right.
has happened, unfortunately, to me more than a couple of times. And
Yeah.
there are lots of projects I never got to like release on my art station, which is a bummer, but
Yeah.
that's what pushes me to come back home and, put in extra 2-3 hours of work,
Right.
study
Right.
a new software.
Yeah. And also like there's also you know the learning aspect to it, right? And even if something doesn't get released, yeah, it's unfortunate, but you're just getting more mileage in. You're getting more practice. You're just learning new things, and so if
For
for
sure.
nothing else, that alone I think is kind of is worth it. Yeah. So we kind of spoke about failures, but I'm curious to hear how do you define success? Like, what is the definition of success for you?
Hmm. I'm still figuring that one out, but I can tell you it's not how much I make, and it's not what car I drive. Which for some people it might be. That's cool. Just for me, it's very non-material. Um, I still enjoy having all the things that I have, and I'm very grateful for them. Like a nice computer setup, and I can afford an apartment, and eat out every now and again. Um, but for me, success is kind of like having this nice balance between taking care of your body, so like health, sports, taking care of your family and friends, and then work, like passion, you know? So
Yeah.
that's success. When you're 90% at work and then like 5% in family and 5% in terms of health, it can be done, but maybe like for 6 months tops,
Right.
I wouldn't call it sustainable. So sustainability is kind of like equals success to
Hmm.
me, which
Yeah.
I know sounds kind of boring, but That's
No,
how
but
my mind works.
it's important to have balance for sure. I mean, if you don't have a good balance, work life balance, as they say, then yeah, very nice. Maybe you're, making a lot of money and, like you said, driving the nice cars and whatever. But if you're kind of dead inside because your whole life you're just like, just foot on
Just
the gas,
constant
like what's
grind.
the
Yeah.
point, like. And again, it works for some people, but I think it's important to have the right perspective and to have your priorities straight. I think that's really really important for everybody. But
What is
again,
it for you?
that's a great question. Um, for me, it's a few things. First of all, I'd say one of my, if not the number one priority for me is my family. And it's I personally find it difficult to strike a good work life balance, especially when I'm working on something that I love. Because when I'm working on a project that I really love and I'm really like passionate about, I find that I will just I put the foot on the gas and have a very hard time letting up. And so, it kind of does take away from like family time. And
Guilty.
not even because, what was that?
Guilty.
Yeah. And it's not even that like I, it's not even that I feel like, oh, I need to get this project done because I have a deadline. It's more that I'm talking about when I'm in love with a project, that every free moment I have, I just want to keep working on it and want to just be pushing and wanting to like, make it happen. And to them,
Hmm.
like, my son will come home from school and like, I'll go and like eat dinner quickly and then like go back to my computer. And like, it's that is kind of, like, it makes me sad when I get like at the end of the day, if I'm putting my son to bed and it's like, oh my God, I only spent like 10 minutes with him because I was so engrossed in this project, So that's definitely, I think, super important to be able to work, to, support my family and to do what I love, but also to work less but make enough from that work that I could then go and spend that quality time with my family. That's, I think, the most important thing. I was speaking the other day with somebody who's a sculptor. He does more, um, like, not. He just started learning ZBrush, but he's a more traditional sculptor. He does really cool stuff. His name is Aiden Hines. So he's like one of the first episodes I recorded, and he does these really cool styrofoam sculptures. So these massive, like 20-foot sculptures, these huge things, and kind of like art installations and these really amazing projects. And so I asked him the same question about how he defines success. And what's really cool with him is he has 4 kids, and so his wife is his bookkeeper. She kind of helps run the business, and all 4 of his kids have been involved in the business from day one, and helping him sculpt and helping him, and like, to me, like, that's the dream, when you can have like when you can kind
Hmm.
of bring your whole family into your projects and all work together. Like, to me, like, that's the most beautiful thing, I think. And yeah, I think
Yeah,
that's
that's cool that you mention it. I was just watching an interview, sorry to interrupt, but
no, you're
I'll
fine.
add a very similar story to that. I was just watching an interview with a fellow caricature artist. Her name is Ida Faber. I'll send you
Mm-hmm.
the link. And she works for stocks, so like 3D stocks, and she
Mm-hmm.
makes full game ready Unreal setup characters for games, usually like pretty girls, and they sell well. And so she's been doing it for like, I think, 4 or 5 years now, and she's got quite a library. She's pretty successful, so probably on any marketplace that you'd go to, ArtStation, Fab, Unreal Marketplace, she's there. And I was listening to her interview, and what she did, she lives with her mom, she's like 62, 63. And her mom was doing this manual job for most of her life. But Ida decided in the past couple of years to teach her Marvelous. And she got her like a whole desk set up on a computer. And now they do these characters for marketplaces. And
Oh
her
wow,
mom learned how to sew in Marvelous, and she helps her with the garments. And
that's
I'm
really
like
cool.
just mind blown. I'm like, that's so cool.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
would want to teach my mom Marvelous.
Are you familiar with, like, do you use Marvelous?
Yeah, yeah.
I haven't really got my hands like I haven't really like gotten my hands dirty with Marvelous Designer, but it looks very cool. It looks, I mean, like
It's a
it's
very
obviously very powerful.
satisfying software to work with. I'd say out of all of them, maybe
Yeah,
like second to ZBrush because I'm a
really.
ZBrush fan. Yeah, it's so satisfying.
Wow. Why is that? Like, what is it about it so satisfying?
Well, if you've got a powerful enough computer to run normal software like ZBrush and Maya, you'll see it from like the get-go. You add a garment and there's like a real-time simulation going on
Yeah,
when you press spacebar, and you can like push and pull on like all the clothing. So if, well, right now it's not the best. Basically, let's say this garment got stuck in my like armpit for whatever, and I'm a 3D
yeah.
character, and you can like just pull it out with
Oh,
like your
interesting.
cursor, and like it
Uh-huh.
has like real-time feedback, cloth simulation. I don't know.
Wow.
It's really satisfying to like
Wow.
smooth out garments and stuff.
Yeah, and like I've seen it in use. I haven't really got my like I said I haven't got my hands on it, but it looks like a lot of fun. Like it looks really
Mhm.
cool and really fun. Um, and I see like people are using it for characters, and I assume also in the fashion industry. I'm sure they're using it.
Yeah.
It seems like a really really powerful tool too. Like it's like I know ZBrush has the cloth the dynamic cloths, and they're great, but Marvel is like the way it handles the cloths is it's very very cool. It's cool to
Hmm.
watch.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, so I can imagine using it. It's even more fun.
Yeah, I would have friends over sometimes, and I used to live in like a studio apartment. So when the friends would visit me or my partner, they would like talk on the couch, and I would be like doing simulations and Marvelous, and they're like, "Ooh, what's that? That looks
Yeah,
so cool. Can I
yeah,
pull?" And I'm like, "Yeah, yeah, sure." And they do that.
yeah, yeah. So I'm curious to hear like you've been doing this for a few years, and I'm sure everyone comes across the same problem, and I'm curious to hear how you handle it. What do you do? How do you handle like burnout and all that comes along with that?
Yeah. Um, I guess it's a very important question. Burnout. I haven't had like huge burnouts, but um, the times that I have had them, therapy has helped,
Hmm.
and nature and going on walks, which I know isn't available to everyone, but it is to me because I'm in New Zealand, and that's basically all you do. You move here to go on bushwalks and hikes. Um, some people it can be sports. For me, it's definitely sports. Like this physical release of negative
Mm.
energy, I think is very important.
What kind of
Uh,
sports are you playing?
um, I do stuff similar to like calisthenics. I think that's the way to pronounce it. So working with your body weights
Hmm.
and like just doing awesome stuff, but with your body, and like handstands, stuff like that.
Yeah, you kind of just it helps release like tension and energy and
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
similar to like gymnastics, I guess.
yeah, yeah. But you don't really find yourself burning out all that often.
I've had I had a big burnout last year, but it was fixable by just
Hmm.
taking a break, and sometimes even from work. Just I communicated with my managers, and we agreed for me to take a few weeks off, and it really helped.
Nice.
And yeah, just resetting myself
Yeah,
with nature, maybe with not doing 3D for a little bit, doing something with my hands, so like
yeah,
artsy, craftsy. Everything revolves around art in my life,
yeah,
so
yeah.
yeah.
Nice. Do you find any specific thing kind of triggers burnout more than others, or it kind of comes out of nowhere? And
Hmm. Yeah, I think it's when I stop listening to myself, to my thoughts, and I like
mm,
shut them out by
mm-hmm.
like always having something on the background. So if you find yourself constantly listening to something, like constantly, there isn't like a minute in the day that you're self-reflecting or thinking about something without the background noise, that can be detrimental in like long term,
Yeah,
because at some point you will not listen to music or podcast or
right.
stream or video or gameplay, and you'll have to face your inner demons. So I would
Yeah.
advise to listen to your inner demons at least 10 minutes a day each day.
Yeah.
And
You
then
you
you're
do that.
kind
You
of
kind of have
like,
like a meditation
yeah, yeah,
routine.
it doesn't have to be actually like sitting
Right.
down, although it would be ideal, but some have kids and some have like crazy work schedules, and not everyone can afford it. But just going into an empty room and just breathing, or going
Yeah.
outside and breathing for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, if I
Yeah.
hadn't done that, my burnouts would have been way more frequent.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've met people before who can't not have like background noise. You know, like they'll like always have, even they'll put the TV on just to have like whatever they're doing, just to have like noise in the background. And for me, I've always been, very comfortable with myself, and so I don't feel the need to always have something playing, you know.
Mm.
But I definitely understand it, But I think it's very important and underrated, to just be alone with your thoughts and kind of learn to get comfortable with yourself. Like that's
Mhm.
really crucial, I think, especially in the arts. Like, because I think your best work is going to be what you pull out from that place, whatever that is. That's where you're really going to pull the best work, I think. You
Mhm.
know,
That's where ideas come from as well.
right,
They
right,
don't
from the,
come
the
from
ether.
this, yeah, from when your mind is like 100 places at once, when you're working and listening to whatever on the background, and then you're thinking at the same time about like doing groceries in the evening. When your mind is this hectic, no new ideas will come. When it's like still and you're like walking home from work for like 10 minutes, that's when the ideas start to happen. It's just mesmerizing to me how our brain
Yeah,
works.
yeah, yeah. No, and there's a ton of people who talk about it, and it really, I mean, it's the classic, the shower thoughts, like, because, when you're in the shower, nothing else is really going on. And so that's when you're really, your mind has the ability to really kind of get active. And next thing you know, you're having all these ideas. And it's like, where'd this come from? But
Or falling asleep as well for some people.
yeah, yeah.
You're just
Yeah, I
staring
definitely
into the
had that
ceiling,
when
you're
you're,
like, oh, that and that, I want to do this.
yeah, I had it just a couple weeks ago. I was like about to fall asleep. And like I had this like idea, and like I was like, okay, it's fine. I'll wait till tomorrow. And like I couldn't fall asleep because it was like itching. So I just like
Hmm.
popped up. I wrote the idea down, just like get it out of my head onto paper, and fell asleep. And yeah, no, it's interesting. It's interesting how our mind works, and especially with the creative side of things, because
Hmm.
creativity is like very obviously unique to us as humans, and it's a it's a fascinating thing, because it and it's I personally am always fascinated by different people's creativity, right? Because you'll have two different people who have two totally different styles and produce totally different outcomes, and like when you see somebody else making something that's totally not how you would think to make something, it's kind of this like amazing. It's like this moment of like, huh, like how'd you think of that, And it's very cool. And that's part of the beauty of it is the fact that you have such different minds and different styles. Kind of that's what makes the experience so rich.
Hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. But you can also like inspire other people regardless of your styles matching or not. I'll
Right.
look at like some horror sculptures or like some just, disturbing creatures with like open mouths and fangs,
Yeah.
which doesn't align at all with like my portfolio of what I do. But I still look at it and I'm like, man, this is awesome,
Yeah.
and some ideas can pop up in my head when I see those. Um, so yeah.
Yeah. It's funny. I was at Lightbox a couple of years ago, and
Cool.
I met this guy there, and I personally like I have a soft spot for crossovers. I love crossovers. So I was like walking by, and this guy, he's on Instagram. I believe it's Yong's Art, Yongs Art. I believe I'll like put a link or whatever to his page. But he had his whole booth was these crossovers of Bloodborne with Sesame Street. and it was like
Okay.
so it was just like really like funny and like obviously like Bloodborne's like very like dark and like very like horror. And the also like the funny thing was is like he was the sweetest, nicest guy. Like it's so funny to see like the art
They
versus the
often are.
artist. Like it was like
Yeah.
he was such a nice guy and like so friendly and so smiley and it was like it was just such cool art. And I was like again same kind of thing. Like that's not necessarily how I would do things. That's totally not my style. But just like seeing somebody else and like seeing what they kind of can cook up is just it's just fun.
Yeah, my fellow ZBrush streaming colleague Ashley Adams. You might have seen her work. She
Yeah,
streams
sure.
on Maxon. Yeah, she's amazing. She does all of these like creatures with like whimsical anatomy and like horns and fangs and just awesome stuff. And then I follow her everywhere, and every now and again, I have this ongoing joke with her. Uh, she'll like post a really cute art of something like a cute girl with big cheeks or like a little boy making a silly face, and I'm like, where did this come from? She's like, oh, every now and again I'll open up my jacket and a cute little creature will like drop out of it, then I'll close it and I'll do more like scary creatures again. And
Yeah.
I'm like, that's so funny because she does have in her portfolio 90% is like these fantasy creatures, and then there'll be like something really cute, like My Little Pony, human version character or something. And I'm
Yeah.
like, wow, where did this
Yeah.
come from? It's so cool.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm curious, like you're talking about how, you're talking about with the burnout and how you sometimes will do things with your hands. What what's your preference? Like, do you prefer digital or traditional mediums to make your art? Like forget about the career aspect, like in terms of like what do you gravitate towards most?
It's hard because professionally I do everything digitally. Um, but I came from like 2D background, so I used to attend like extracurricular art schools. It's like a big thing in Eastern Europe. Basically, parents sign you up for extra 3 hours after school to go and like do still lives and stuff like that in art school. So I have that background and I have 3D as a job, but then I really enjoy anything handmade.
Hmm.
And I've sculpted from like clay in the past, and I actually made jewelry from clay
Oh,
in the
cool.
past. And I crochet every now and again for like my nephew and now niece as well. So I don't know, a mix of everything.
Do you have a favorite, or it's all each one has its pros and cons?
One is too young to judge yet, but no, I love them.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Or did you not mean my nephew and niece?
I was saying in terms of the media, but you go with the nephew
Ah,
niece
well,
too.
in terms of medium, it's hard to choose from all of them. 3D
Yeah,
will always have like a special spot on my heart,
yeah,
and I don't know if I'll do it forever. I've been thinking about it the past couple of years with the industry being in not the best place right now. I'm sure like everyone has had this thought
yeah.
cross their mind once or twice. Um, with all the strikes and the game industry,
Right.
yeah, I might not do 3D for the entirety of my life, and I'm fine with it.
Yeah,
I feel like younger generations now have this concept that they'll have more than one career in their life, and it's totally like normal.
right.
You can get more than one degree. You don't need to study just for one thing and die doing it.
Yeah, yeah,
It's just, I think it's cool.
yeah. We definitely live in an era where you could be more flexible now than ever
Mhm.
before. I think just the amount of resources out there really allows you to just do whatever you want. Really, like there's really obviously there are certain limitations and et cetera, et cetera. I'm not taking that away, but it's especially like with YouTube and everything. Like it's easier now to learn new skills and to new techniques and just you know try different things that before just weren't possible. But there are people who build within the design field. You know, the people who build entire careers with no schooling. You know, with no uh, even no mentorship, just completely self taught off YouTube. And like
Mhm.
to me, that's so inspiring when you see that because it's like wow, like the amount of grit and like self motivation and discipline that's required to like just you set your mind to something and get it done and build a career out of it is really inspiring to me.
That's awesome, right? I
Yeah.
mean, I learned ZBrush purely off free resources on YouTube. There's this guy called Polygon. I
Yeah,
don't know if
sure.
you've heard of.
Of course.
That's my guy. I
Yeah.
watched every single free live stream, feedback session, video that he had, and I just learned how to stylize characters from him. And yeah, I mean, it's all there. You don't need
Yeah.
to, if you don't want to, you don't need to pay extra for mentorships, and unless
Right.
you're that kind of person you really need like to get there fast, for instance, then that's definitely the way.
Yeah.
But just here to say that it's doable with just internet connection and the cheapest drawing tablet from like a used marketplace in your
Right.
country. Wacoms are just so resilient. I still have Wacom from 2014 and it's going.
Yeah.
Nothing's gonna kill it.
Yeah. That's true. I mean, my Wacom, I don't even know how old it is, and it's still chugging away, and I haven't had any major issues with it. So I'll keep using it as long as I can. And as long as
Yeah.
you need to replace it, like
Mine
it
has a
works.
dent in it and it still works.
Wow. In the screen?
It, I don't use it anymore, but it works. But it's got like the dent in the, yeah,
Wow.
the main thing. It's not a screen tablet, it's just a
Oh, it's
normal
like with
tablet.
I see, I see. Yeah,
Yeah. Now, dent in the screen tablet, that would probably be problematic.
yeah. 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 Are there any like looking to the future, are there any sort of dream projects or whatever dreams of like where you want your career to go? And you talk about, you don't necessarily know if you'll do 3D, you're talking about going to the game industry. Where do you again with no reservations, where do you dream of your career going?
I have lots of like conflicting thoughts popping into my head because I don't consider myself being senior, but I'm not beginner either.
Right.
I'd say I'm like a very strong middle, and I'm already like have enough knowledge to give away, and that's why I have Discord community and I do streaming, and people have asked me for mentorship, so I think I will be doing that this year, even though I
Nice.
have huge imposter syndrome. But people have asked, and I have provided free feedback every now and again on like just paint overs, and I was like, I can do it, so I
Yeah.
should because people are grateful, and it feels nice to help people and to give away this knowledge because somebody at some point in the past gave it to me for free for nothing, so it's kind of
Yeah.
like just paying it forward. So that's in the plans for this year, and also just learn more Unreal, more real time rendering because I believe that's the future. And I'm sure that the death of offline renders is inevitable
Mm-hmm.
eventually. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
saying in the next year, but
Right.
more and more people are starting to use real time engines because they're just cheaper.
Yeah.
And
Also, it's amazing, like the real-time engines. I'm sure you've seen when they use them in film production, like like
mhm,
famously, like on The Mandalorian
Mandalorian, yeah.
and a few other projects. And there's a guy I just saw recently. He did I forget the YouTube channel, but he's more of like a videographer. I think that's like his thing. And he did a whole video about he basically like used Unreal Engine. He set this like rig over his desk, and so he like did like the real time camera tracking and everything. And I mean, I think the biggest setback with that is just the price of
Mhm.
those screens. But
Yeah, for now.
yeah, right, exactly. And but just like what you can do with it is incredible, and it's so powerful. And like especially like as technology, like the VR and AR technology progresses, and if you can kind of have these like real time renders going on of environments, like sky's the limit at that point. You really could
Mhm.
do anything. It'll be really interesting to see how that plays out over the next few years. I mean, obviously, like that's where it's heading. But I'm excited to see like how it really develops and looks, because already where it's at now is incredible. See, it's only going to get
Mhm.
better.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think it's great time to be a 3D artist right now, even with
yeah,
the industry not being in the best place.
yeah,
The amount of tools that you have at your disposal and free resources online, and just this thing, the internet,
yeah,
we just connected over email, like a
yeah,
few days ago.
yeah,
It just works, and we get to talk to each other, share experiences, our insight into the industry, and yeah,
yeah,
it's
yeah.
awesome.
So let me ask you, like, talk about mentorship. So let's say somebody's watching this who's a beginner, or a hobbyist, or interested in getting into it. What do you think are some of the most important skills for people to learn and to master if they want to make a career in the industry?
You need to decide where you want your focus to be for this period of time. You don't have to stick to it forever, but you need to decide. That's the biggest thing, the most common thing that I see across all the portfolios that get submitted. People ask to look at their work, and time again, I just say you need to pick a focus, because they'll see an environment, then a prop, then a character, then some sort of logo animation, then a motion design, and it's all in one ArtStation page. And what I tell people is like, imagine you are the recruiter and you are being sent this portfolio and you're just confused. You don't know what the person wants to do. And
Right.
that's basically the job of the recruiter, is to find a good match between a company and a person. And if the person is the jack of all trades, is that the
Yeah.
is that the saying? Yeah.
Yeah.
It might work for like a small indie company or a small studio, but you really need to like be really kind of like strategic about it. To be a generalist, it's not just to do everything across all mediums,
Right.
not 2D, 3D, motion design, tracking, compositing. It's a bit narrower than that. So there's
Yeah.
this like lack of direction from a lot of younger artists, which is fine. It's very easily solved. You just need
Right.
to pick one direction and then pick concepts that you want to create, environments or props, or if it's animation, then it's animation. So I would start there.
Yeah. Yeah. They say jack of all trades, master of none. If you do a little bit of everything, you can't really get good at anything, because you're spreading yourself too thin. There's only so many hours in the day, and it's
Yeah.
I think it's hard to hear, for a young artist, because they're like, I want to do this, and I want to do that, and I love animation, and I love, and it's like great, but if you don't focus, you're not gonna you're not gonna master anything, right? Because you're trying to do a little bit of everything, and like it's okay to not do everything. You know what I'm saying? Like you need specialists, right? And you wouldn't want to go to like a whatever, if you have say a heart problem, right? You wouldn't want to go to like somebody who's like a cardiologist and a surgeon and a eye doctor and a nose doctor, and you'd be like, no, I just want to find the best cardiologist and like stick with it, and the same thing
Yeah,
applies
that's a good
to
analogy.
everything. Yeah, because
Yeah.
it's true, like, and I guess it could be, like I said, it could be hard to hear, because maybe you love everything, but I think I think everybody gravitates towards one thing more than others, and another thing I think that's important is like pick what you're good at also, right? And maybe you like 2D animation more than you like 3D, but you're better at making 3D than you are at drawing. So, either get better at drawing or start in 3D and just, kind of build yourself a career. And then, on the side, you could, try to learn 2D, but,
Hmm.
don't, like you're saying, like, don't try and spread yourself too thin. I think
Yeah.
it's really great advice.
Hmm. Yeah, you have to be a bit realistic. You
Yeah.
only have like 12 months in a year and 4 weeks in each month. So, if you were to pick up every single side of the 3D industry, so it will be one side each month, it's not enough time.
Yeah, yeah,
It's not enough time to master everything.
yeah.
Just yeah.
Yeah. So what are the skills that you're currently trying to master? I know you talked about games and Unreal. So what's something that you're currently focusing on?
I really want to. So I'm still experimenting with my pipeline for games. I have kind of narrowed it down, but I want to improve upon it. Um, I want to learn this link between Character Creator 4 and ZBrush.
Okay.
And I believe Michael Pavlovich's got a great series for me.
Yeah.
So I'm
Yeah.
gonna be studying that because I've never really been able to successfully rig a character's face, even though
Mm.
I've worked with character riggers and I know how to set up all the loops for proper animation and deformation. Never done it myself.
Yeah.
And I think by doing that, well, first of all, I'll have a cool character to show off with like
Yeah.
a facial rig. But second of all, it will improve my skills at work, and character riggers will come back with less feedback, and they'll be happier
Right. For sure.
because yeah, I'll just know what not to do.
Yeah. I wanted to learn Character Creator also, but I have a Mac, so it's not supported unfortunately. So
Oh
I was a
no.
little bummed out by that. But it's a very cool tool. I saw some demos, for a project I was working on. And yeah, they're using Character Creator with ZBrush and kind of I saw a demo of like the pipeline. It's really cool, and like it works really nicely. But unfortunately, kind of in the walled garden of Mac. So I gotta.
What about Unreal is for Mac, right? No?
Yeah, Unreal runs on Mac. I've
MetaHuman then?
what was that?
MetaHuman and Character Creator 4 are often compared.
Oh, interesting. Yes, I haven't played around with MetaHuman. I only touched on Unreal very, very little bit. Like I said, like games are not my primary interest. So I don't want to like invest too much time into trying to, like I said, like we're talking about, like I don't want to try and spread myself too thin. But Unreal Engine, it's so cool, and I have like I have it downloaded and I've like played around with it a little bit. But it's like ZBrush in the sense that like there's so many tools and like sub palettes on sub palettes, that it's like to even learn the basics, it takes a lot of time, and it's just, I would like to eventually, get familiar with it, but I really, kind of want to put my focus elsewhere at the moment. But no, it's really cool. Yeah. I'm curious to get your thoughts on this. Is maybe a controversial topic, so I hope you don't mind talking about
I
it.
know. Is it AI?
Of course, you gotta address it. So I'm curious to hear your thoughts on the whole AI in the industry.
Yeah. So, in the past, has it been 2 years that it has blown up?
Something like that.
Year and a
Yeah.
half?
Yeah.
Yeah, I got to work on a couple of freelance projects, and quite a few at work as well, that clients would send through AI concepts. And my take on it is that it's cool to communicate ideas to the artist instead of replacing the artist completely because it's just not there yet.
Right.
Maybe
Right.
never. Hopefully never. I much rather prefer to work with professionally done character concept art artists,
Yeah.
So when it's like carefully crafted, where each detail makes sense from the front view, from 3/4, and I can actually come up to the person and I'm like, hey, what did you draw there? Is that a pouch? Is that like a belt? How does
Yeah.
it connect? It's simple. It's easy.
Yeah.
With AI, some clients that will send you through their concepts will just want it done exactly how it was done. And you look at it, and some parts of the outfit don't make sense.
Right.
Some zippers will be going backwards,
Yeah.
they're not supposed to do that. And you try to communicate that, and they'll be like, sometimes they'll be fine with it, and sometimes they'll be like, no, still make it this way. And I mean, you're the client, you're paying, it's fine. But, there is this question to be asked, like, do we strive for high fidelity high quality characters that make sense and function well? Or do we only care about cutting down costs and making
Right.
concepts real fast by using this algorithm? So I think there should be like a perfect middle ground,
Mm-hmm.
which sometimes is like AI art, but then fully painted over by a concept artist. That's cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there's still original idea from the client, but then it's refined and then given to 3D artist. That would be ideal case scenario in
Yeah.
nowadays world.
Have you seen
So
any of
yeah,
like the 3D AI stuff?
I have. It's very primitive right now,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's going somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
I've
interesting.
seen some like photos to 3D models, AI.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, they're cool. I've seen some experimentation done by Corridor Crew.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you know them on
Yeah, for
YouTube.
sure.
Yeah, it's really cool what those guys do with AI. It's like
Yeah.
um they just push it to the limits, until it
Right.
breaks.
Right.
Not for the purpose of like demotivating people to become concept artists or 3D artists, but they're like, no, you can be this whatever you want, but
Yeah.
also use this tool as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I have a friend who plays. He loves to play around with AI, and he's a extremely talented artist. I've been working in the industry for a long time. He very much likes to, like you're saying, push tools to the limit. So everything. I mean, ZBrush. Every tool that he has, he's like, let's like figure out how to break this, and so he's been like playing around with AI a lot. And he's always like showing me like different demos. He's like, check this out and this, and my initial thoughts, like as of right now, specifically talking about the 3D AI stuff, um, I feel like the amount of work that goes in to tweaking it and playing around with it and fixing it and editing it and doing all like the post processing, if you will, to try and get the result you want. I almost think to myself like you could have done it faster just by doing it from scratch. Like you could have gotten
Yep.
a block out in the same, if not less time. And like I don't know. Again, that's how it is now. Maybe it'll improve. I'm sure it will improve, and it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. But just like watching him and like seeing how much time and effort he's putting in to get this model that he could have sculpted in half the time. It's like, so what's the benefit at that point? Like, what are you
Mm.
gaining by doing that? Um, it's funny. He has a line. He says, he says mid journey because he gets you half the way there. Like,
That's a good one.
yeah, and like it's like you're saying, I think, and forget about putting aside all the ethical questions that come in with AI about the training models, because that's a whole other discussion that should be had. But just in terms of the output, right? So let's say you have perfectly ethical models and all that stuff. The output, I think, I look at AI again where it is now, and I don't think it's ever going to get so much further than how it is now. But I look at it as a great uh, jumping off point, right? Like it's great to like get a fast um, concept, right, and to kind of get an idea on paper. But again, it's not usable, Like, and I have seen it used in public, like for posters and billboards, like at the mall, right? They have these like big posters with AI images, right? As like
I have.
What?
I have one. I have
Oh
seen
yeah.
one.
Yeah, I see them all the time.
Yeah.
Like I said, like in like
Yeah.
malls or billboards, let's say these things, and it's
Mm.
like okay for that, again putting aside the ethics of hiring somebody versus having AI, that's again a different discussion. But so for something like that, where it's you know, a poster, a billboard, okay, fine, you want to do it cheaper and have it AI, and it doesn't hold up on closer inspection, fine.
Mhm.
But if you want something that's high quality, it's not there. Like you're not gonna get the quality that you're gonna get from hiring an artist who knows the foundational skills, right? And that's another thing with AI is that it doesn't know what it's looking at, right? It's kind of just it's kind of guessing almost, right? And it's like so
Yeah.
it
I
doesn't have an
saw a
understanding.
raccoon with 8 fingers promoting some travel agency the other day. And at first, from far away, the fur was like really nice. I was like, oh.
Yeah.
So I'm walking like 10 meters away and I'm like, is that Overnatrix? Is that XGen? Is that Yeti? Then I walk closer and I'm like, That's AI. Okay. Never
Yeah.
mind.
Yeah. So I'm saying like so for something like that where it's like it's an ad for a travel agency, okay, so instead of then maybe they don't have the budget to go shell out, to pay a professional artist, so okay, so instead they get the AI version. Okay, I get that. But again, if you tried to put that into a comic book, let's say, like no one would want to buy that. Like it's like I don't want to, it's like fast food, what I'm saying? Like I'd rather, if I'm gonna go out and if I'm gonna go spend money and like go to a restaurant, like I want good food, right? Like I don't want to just, and again, it's time and place for the fast food, but if I'm looking for a fine dining experience, I'm not going to McDonald's. You know what I'm saying? Like
No, of
that's
course.
kind of how I look at the AI. Like there's a time and place for it, but you're not getting the quality that you might
Mm.
want in especially in the industry, especially in, like I said, comics, movies, TV, games, like if I, as a client, am buying a movie, ticket or buying a game, I want to get my money's worth. I want to feel like I'm getting a good quality product, and I just don't think you're getting that with AI right now.
Yeah. And one more point to add is similar to what you said of like how much time it was taking your friend to get to the final output versus how much time he could have spent just sculpting it. There's another point to be made that when you are a 3D artist and you're given this potential AI concept, and there's something really messed up, and like it's really good, but then there'll be some areas that are blurred out and they're like belts connecting into the
Yeah,
leg, or I don't know, something is not making sense. What you're creating by using AI is for 3D artists to take extra time to figure out what they
yeah,
could design in there.
yeah,
So the artist like myself would have to go on Pinterest, which is, by the way, now littered with AI as well, which
yeah,
is not a
yeah,
nice place to be anymore. And you have to create the separate part of the board and like, okay, I think it could have been a satchel or maybe, I don't know, like a handbag. So you're
yeah.
spending this extra resource on trying to decipher what AI was trying to draw there
Right,
because you decided to save money on a concept artist.
right.
But now 3D artist is putting in more hours, so you're paying more money anyway.
Yeah,
Yeah, you see what I mean?
yeah, for sure, for sure. It'll be interesting to see how it all plays out over the next few years. I personally am not. I don't think like all the jobs are going to disappear. Like I think a lot of people are afraid of that. I, I
Mhm.
I don't personally have that fear. Um, I think there's always going to be a need for high quality artists. Um, and I think the people that maybe should be worried and maybe will lose jobs are people who are doing kind of the low level graphic design work. And not to sound harsh, but like you have one or two options: either level up your skills and like you know go for higher quality you know output, or find another kind of way to pivot within the field to use these tools to your advantage and not just like submit to what's happening and be like, okay, well, there's nothing I could do, so I'm just gonna give up. Like 'cause you could do that anytime. Anytime anything happens, you could either say I'm just gonna give up, or you can be like, okay, how can I use this to my advantage? That's kind of my outlook on it. Yeah,
Yeah, I feel you.
yeah. All right, well, I think that's a nice place to wrap it up.
Okay, cool.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate your time.
Yeah,
And so,
thank you so much for inviting me.
yeah.
Wow.
And please let everybody know where they can find you. You're always live streaming on ZBrush, but where could the people find your personal?
Okay, so that's Layla Viscu everywhere. I'm on YouTube, ArtStation, Instagram. Now I have a Discord server called 3D Rabbit Hole.
Nice.
Um, I'll send you all the links.
Okay, amazing. Well, thank you so much for
Yeah,
your time. I really appreciate it.
awesome. Thank you so much.
All right.